Hello, and thank you for joining us today for another episode. Today, we're discussing a rather tricky subject: how to know when it's time to stop driving, and perhaps even trickier, how to start the conversation with a loved one about driving restrictions. Today, joining us is Andrea Valdes of the Department of Insurance. Welcome, Andrea, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So the struggle over age-related driving issues is very common. More than 80% of older adults never speak to a family member or a physician about their ability to drive safely. What are some of the subtle signs that someone might not be good to drive anymore?
Yeah. It's normal for driving skills to change with age. So it usually doesn't mean you have to stop driving, but you should be aware of the changes and learn to always adjust them. So just some common driving problems for seniors: not paying attention. That's a big one. Not giving the right of way to others, drifting across lane markers or in other lanes, getting confused in heavy traffic, making left turns when oncoming traffic is too close. A big one I still have trouble with having trouble backing and parking your automobile. Getting more traffic tickets than usual. That's kind of a sign. That we can always correct these problems, but that's kind of where it starts.
Yeah, so you start to observe basically a slow decline in some of the basic driving skills that have to do with control of the vehicle and comprehension of oncoming and surrounding traffic.
Correct.
Do you have any tips on how to start the conversation with a loved one without it coming across as an attack on their abilities or their independence?
You know, Nobody really wants to stop driving. So, seniors see it as driving as a symbol of freedom and independence. And, it can be really hard to be honest about driving skills, but you really have to start the conversation. Driving too long can put your life and, most importantly, other lives in danger. So that's kind of like a conversation to start. The DMV does have like a mature driving program that not a lot of people know about. And you can also lower your costs with safe driver discount. So that might be a start. Maybe they're thinking, okay, I don't know if I really need to stop. So I might be, going to an approved course to see that first. Because after the age of 70, you do have to go into the DMV in person. You can no longer renew by mail.
So, can you tell me a little bit more about that process? Actually, once you hit 70, when you need to go in for a license renewal, are you required to complete a new driving test? Is it just the written test? Is it the full driving test? What should people know?
So after the age of 70, you can no longer renew your driver's license by mail. And again, you must go to the Department of Motor Vehicles. You will take a vision test and you will have to take the written and driving test. You may. It's all dependent, but you may.
Okay. Can a physician get involved in the conversation about whether it's time to hang up the keys? And as a follow-up to that question, if a physician does have that conversation with one of their patients, are they required to report that to the DMV? Are there any mandatory reporting? What should people know about starting that conversation and the risks involved?
I haven't heard it yet from physicians. Usually it starts with like family members and then them taking them to the doctor. So sometimes if you have like anxiety or panic, then they will take them to the doctor. If you've gotten negative feedback, we really say to start with a trusted friend or family member to check your driving with you first.
And are there any programs or resources that are available to older or disabled drivers to help them get to a level of higher comfort or reduce some of those errors that we might see taking place with age?
Yeah, of course. So that was that mature driver improvement course, and it can actually lower your auto insurance costs. So to find an approved course, you're going to want to go to www.dmv.ca.gov, and you're going to want to search for mature driver, or you're going to want to call the DMV's toll-free consumer line, and that's 1-800-777-0133.
Well, thank you so much for that information. I think that it will be really helpful for a lot of people. I know driving is such a crucial part of our independence. We look forward to getting our licenses when we're 16 or 18, and there's so much freedom that comes along with that. And with a condition like Parkinson's, there's a lot of aspects of our independence that get whittled away over time. So it's very hard for people to give up on such a fundamental piece of their independence. I'm curious if you have any advice that you would give to someone in this position that we didn't already cover. Are there kind of simple measures they can take to reduce their driving or to increase their independence in other ways?
Yeah, so definitely talk to your doctor, especially if you've had a recent stroke or a heart attack. If you notice vision loss, you're definitely going to want to take that eye exam. If you cannot decide whether or not you want to start driving, you're going to have to ask yourself the following questions. Have you been surprised or startled by a car or pedestrian? Have you missed or not fully stopped at stop signs? Have you become lost or familiar with routes? A lot of times we tell seniors, take the same routes. Don't go to new places. If you're just going to the store, you're always going to want to take that same road to the store. Have you felt nervous or exhausted after room train driving? And if any of these questions, then it may be time to stop driving. So that's something you definitely want to talk to a family member about, a trusted friend, and even a doctor as well.
Yeah, that sticking to familiar routes is a really great piece of advice that I had not considered. So if you're going on an unusual trip, maybe it would be worth it to call a taxi or call a friend for that trip. Your weekly visit to the grocery store, do it during daylight and during low traffic times, perhaps, so that you can stretch your longevity with driving without causing risk to others.
Correct. Yeah. And there are assisted devices or driving aids. For example, there are extra mirrors to make it easier to see behind you. Sometimes you just need a good cushion to raise you up. Get those regular eye exams. If you take prescription or over-the-counter medicines, sometimes they can slow your reflexes or blur your vision. So make sure you do want to talk to your doctor how these medicines can affect my driving.
Yeah. I know my mom sits on about 4 cushions when she drives because she gets shorter over time, and so she just does need a little extra support to get in the right position with the wheel.
That's okay.
Yeah. So a few more questions. Can you tell us a little more about the Department of Insurance and what this department does in California and where you come into this whole maze?
Yeah, of course. So a lot of people don't know where we exist, or we exist. So we are also known as CDI. So we're a state agency and we regulate the insurance marketplace. So we regulate all lines of insurance. So that's homeowners, auto, life, health, and we also regulate the insurance companies and agents and brokers that sell insurance. So as a consumer, if you ever have a problem with your insurance company, that's when you come to us and file a complaint. And a lot of complaints that we get and a lot of presentations that I do amongst the driving for seniors is senior scam stoppers as well, because there are a lot of senior scams out there. So I go around the state of California just looking out for driving scams, for annuity scams. And so we're definitely letting the public know about that. And that information is available on our website as well.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm curious, can you tell us a little more about some of the common driving scams that are out there that target seniors?
Yeah, of course. So one of the biggest ones that are out there, and a lot of people, when I say this, they're like, that's not true, is the staged auto accident. So you're driving down the street, you're going the speed limit, maybe you stop at a red light, you have a car in front of you, car in back of you. Maybe the car just doesn't go, so you lightly tap them, the car behind you lightly taps as well. All of a sudden, 8 people get out of each car. They have broken bones, they're holding their necks, they're demanding money from you right now. It can startle you. They target seniors for this because they know, like, oh my goodness, I don't want to get my license taken away, and they'll demand money from me. Oh, we don't need to go through the insurance company. If you just give us $1,000, it will all go away. And no, what I say in a lot of like these senior seminars is if something doesn't feel right, contact the police. Most of the time, if you say, hold up, I'm just going to contact the police. Oh, everybody's fine. They get in their car. You do want to get the police out there anyway, though, just in case they report bodily injury against your insurance company. So we
Wow.
always say if you're in that situation, if something does not feel right in your gut, contact the police.
That is such a tricky one. That's first of all pretty nasty, and I'm glad you brought that to our attention. I think that also furthers the argument for making sure that you're doing everything possible to ensure that you're in good driving conditions so that when an incident like that takes place, you don't have that reserve about contacting authorities and doing things through the proper channels. So if you've been staying up on your safe driving courses and getting your license renewed and getting those vision tests and making sure that when you drive, you've got your glasses on if you need them and all of that, then you should have confidence handling those situations.
Correct.
Are there any other insurance or driving scams that people should have on their radar?
That's the only driving one right now. A lot of the other scams I deal with are annuities, but again, all these scams are always popping up. We don't know if they're going on if they're not reported. So a lot of times seniors, they feel embarrassed that this happened to them. They'll come out to us at these seminars and say, "Oh, this happened to me. This happened to me." If you don't report it, we don't know that it's going on. We can't take action to pursue it. So it is okay to contact us. We have agents Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And our number for the Department of Insurance is 1-800-927-4357. And we have agents willing to assist you. We also, let's say you're getting a new insurance policy. We have agents that can review your policy with you. A lot of times seniors are taken advantage of. Maybe you need a little more insurance. Sometimes dishonest agents will go in and sign their names on stuff that they didn't even want. So that's a big thing as well. There's so
Wow.
many scams out there. I could go on to scams forever.
I know. We started out talking about whether to stop driving, and now we're getting a crash course in scams associated. And I'm really glad that you brought all of this up. So I think the major takeaway from what you just told us is that there are state agencies that are available to walk you through the process of getting insurance or re-upping your insurance, or even maybe filing an insurance claim to make sure that you are not being taken advantage of by people filing the claim against you or by the insurance agency itself.
That is correct. That is us. That is the Department of Insurance. You can file a request for assistance online, and we can assist you with that. If you think you're being taken advantage of, if you think your policy is not correct, or if it's something you want to check on your policy, you can always contact us.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that information. I want to circle back to where we started really briefly, which is we talked about what you can do to improve your driving as a senior and to make sure that you are staying on top of it, how to have those conversations with your loved ones about whether it's time to hang up the keys. Can you talk briefly about some of the ramifications of not doing this? Maybe some of the risks that are involved with driving beyond the point of health?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we talked about it earlier. We touched on it. You're putting yourself at risk, and most importantly, you're putting other people around you at risk. You don't want to get in a vehicle. You don't want to hurt others. Um, so I think that's the biggest thing, hurting yourself and hurting others.
And I want to remind all of our viewers that there are lots of alternative options for transportation, not just calling a taxi. There's Uber and Lyft these days, which you can use via your phone. But there's also a lot of transportation services that are specifically for seniors to get you from your home to doctor's appointments or to regularly scheduled appointments that you have. So it's definitely worth exploring the options in your own region. We're located here in Palm Desert. I know there's a few services here. There's some in Los Angeles that are on my radar as well. But most locales, especially the cities, if you give them a call and ask if there's transportation services available for seniors, there usually are. The big addendum there is you want to make sure that you are scheduling them well in advance. And you want to make sure that you are giving yourself plenty of time to get to the appointment you are trying to get to. These services are really excellent for circumventing the need to drive, but you don't want to give yourself a really tight window to get somewhere because they can sometimes run a little bit behind schedule.
Correct. Yes. And I do want to mention that we have a Driving for Seniors booklet online that covers all this information a little more in depth. So that booklet is available on our website at www.insurance.ca.gov. And then we have a tab at the top that does say seniors. And then you'll find all of our booklets there. And you'll also find the Senior Gateway portal. So that's it's like a one-stop shop to provide seniors, their families, and caregivers with information to those helpful resources, like you stated, to help them to see, rides, to find answers, to solve problems, and then also reporting fraudulent activities. It gives you all the numbers there, especially anything with like Medicare, annuities, insurance, to report those.
Well, we will be sure to link some of those links that you mentioned below this video. So take a look at the caption below the video for some of the resources that Andrea has already mentioned. What did we forget? Is there anything else worth discussing before we part ways today?
No, and I mean, just the final thing. Again, if it's too good to be true, what I said, and it probably is. And just trust yourself. If driving, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to give up that financial freedom. We all understand. But, talk to a family member, talk to a loved one, maybe go out with them for a drive, and then take it from there. It's not always a bad thing to give up your driving.
Yeah. And one other thing I would add is have this conversation frequently and early. So talk to your loved one when they are still in a really capable point of driving about at what point do you think you should give up the keys? What signs should I be looking for that make you feel comfortable with this decision? What would you not want to see yourself doing? So that there is kind of a roadmap for success moving forward. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us on this episode and sharing all this wonderful information. You actually shared even more than I was expecting. I'm so glad you brought up those frauds. I mean, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes, I know. Especially driving fraud, and a lot of people know about it. So
and I do think that if you have been victim of a fraud, the shame that comes along with it causes a lot of silence. And unfortunately, what that means is less information is out there about the scams. So speak up. And by you speaking up about a fraudulent experience that you had, you are helping to protect future consumers. So it's a service. It is truly a public service.
Correct.
Thank you, Andrea. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you can get the latest information on what you need to know about Parkinson's. Keep caring, everyone. We are here to serve and help you navigate life with Parkinson's, and you are not alone. So we'll see you next time.